The insecurity in Nigeria has reinforced the need for structural changes to make the police more effective, since it is primarily in charge of internal security. While experts agree that the police and other security forces in Nigeria have very crucial roles in addressing insecurity, they say it is important for reorientation to take place among police personnel more. This cry for a paradigm shift gave birth to the presidential roadmap on police reforms in Nigeria, which was introduced by the federal government to specifically reform the police. Now, a police bill was worked on and passed by the National Assembly before assent by President Muhammadu Buhari, which now put in place reform initiatives, and the bill was known as the Police Act 2020. But since the uprising against the high-handedness of the police by young Nigerians in the same year through the EndSARS protests, only piecemeal reforms have been implemented, including the new law, alongside the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad unit of the police, or SARS, recruitment of more policemen, and improved welfare for officers of rank and file. But the recommendations of the several panels of inquiry set up to probe the attack on protesters who were calling for SARS to be scrapped are yet to be implemented. Months after investigations and testimonies were concluded, thereby making Nigerians to demand more police reforms. Another topical issue plaguing the force is the current phase off with the Police Service Commission over the recruitment of 10,000 police constables. The commission had opened its portal for the recruitment of police constables for 2022 and placed an advert in national dailies. But in a swift response, the Nigerian Police Force distanced itself from the advertisement. The force headquarters says the advert has no connection with the Nigerian Police Force and is not in tandem with the police recruitment process. Now Nigerians are asking which body is actually empowered by law to carry out a recruitment process into the police force. How can the police be fully reformed? We'll be speaking with police and law enforcement experts to help us understand all of these issues. I'm Somna Sambu, and this is the Arise interview. Very warm welcome to the show. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, and the Police Service Commission have disagreed over police recruitment. The Police Service Commission had opened its portal for the recruitment of police constables for the 2022 recruitment and placed an advert on several national dailies seeking recruitment of young Nigerians into the police force. But in response to the development, the Nigerian Police Force urged Nigerians to disregard the advertisement. In a statement, the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi said recruitment adverts did not comply with the police recruitment process and that it has its own portal separately from that of the Police Service Commission, where these recruits are supposed to come in. Well, for more on this, we'll be taking a holistic look at what is happening within the Nigerian Police Force, what needs to be done in terms of police reforms, and of course what young Nigerians had anticipated after the EndSARS protests, and of course what actually happened to all the judicial reports that were set up, judicial committees that were set up and eventually brought some reports out which seem not to have been implemented at the moment. Well, to help us understand some of these issues, I have joining me in the studio here retired Assistant General of Police Wilson Inalegwu. Also here with us is the Commissioner in charge of Human Rights in the Police Service Commission, Rommy Mom, is also a lawyer. And of course, in the course of the show, we hope to be joined by other Nigerians as we take a look at this specific issue. Yeah, and so gentlemen, welcome to the show. I mean, it's been a very, very tough time. We just have to start with the top issue at the moment before we go into what is expected of our police. I call it our police because I mean the Nigerian police is supposed to be the closest security system of security arm to any Nigerian wherever he or she finds themselves. Let's start with you, AIG Wilson Inalegwu. What's the process before now of recruiting constables into the Nigerian police force, and why has it been controversial in a couple of years?
Yeah, first of all, I wouldn't say it's really controversial. So what you see is like a family, some little family issues. They are not the way they seem to be blown so big. The Police Service Commission and the Nigerian Police Force are one and the same. The Police Service Commission has an oversight responsibility on the Nigerian Police Force. But you see, until very recently, the Inspector General of Police has been responsible for recruitment of personnel from the rank of constable. That is the constable recruitment. Even in terms of discipline, I think that power has always been retained by the Inspector General of Police, and it's not been an issue. But of late, there have been some little issues where I think it shouldn't take too long to be resolved. Unfortunately, there have been some litigation on those things, but essentially, the Police Service, the Minister of Police Affairs, the Police Service Commission, and the Nigerian Police Force are one and the same, working to bring safety and security for the people of Nigeria.
Okay. And I come to you, Mom. It looks like there are so many agencies that are supposed to help on the issues of policing. We have the Minister of Police Affairs there, the Police Service Commission, of course, the Nigerian Police Force itself. And there's been this foot dragging on these issues. Now, when President Muhammadu Buhari says he needs more policemen to be recruited, more police constables, who is supposed to take charge? Is it your commission, the Police Service Commission, or the Nigerian Police Force, or the Minister of Police Affairs? Because it looks like a lot of Nigerians don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I also buy the view that what we're seeing is meant to be overblown. But we are a country of laws. And so we have the Constitution, we have subsidiary laws, and everything that guides what we do. Now, when something is constitutional, nobody has a right to change it except you change the Constitution. That's the law that we are with in the country today. It's not the practice, it's the law. It's not what we are used to doing, it's what the law says it should be. And as we speak today, the law says the Police Service Commission should be in charge of recruitment. That is outside of the Constitution. You also have the Police Service Commission laws that says the Police Service Commission should recruit, appoint, all those words that have been used. And the Court of Appeal has also given a judgment on that, which is subsisting as we speak. Is a final judgment that says the Police Service Commission is the sole, exclusive, and exhaustive agency that has the powers to recruit constables up to DIGs, except the IG. It's not me speaking. It's what the law says it is. Yeah. Now, this is not what we may want to see. The best way to go about it is to go and have either a constitutional reform or you appeal that judgment and have it changed. As long as we say we're a country of laws, we should abide by what the law says. So for me, it's not so much as about what's the practice or what's not the practice. It's what is the law. Listen, even the Police Service Commission doesn't have the powers to say we are moving our power to another agency. It's unconstitutional. It's just like the president now saying, I want to move my powers of a president to somebody else when the person hasn't taken that oath. So what is happening now can be paced in, practice, but in terms of whether it's legal or illegal, it's very clear, it's illegal.
Yeah, but this looks like a battle of two acts, the Police Service Commission Act and then the Police Act. I was thinking that in the face of all of this, that the new Police Act, which came in place about 2 years ago, should have been able to take care of all of these issues. Inalegwu, why is it difficult for us to be able to have this one law that takes care of everything? Isn't it time for us to start rethinking the idea of having one law that fits all, instead of having, a Police Service Commission somewhere, and then of course the Minister of Police Affairs? Where do we place him in the midst of what he has said now?
No, I think they've all got their separate responsibility. The Minister of Police Affairs represents the President, and he is in a position to give lawful directive as may be necessary for the Nigerian Police Force, either to the IG or so. So the IG or the Chairman Police Service Commission, none of them is a member of the Federal Executive Council. So if the police, for example, has want to embark on capital project, that has to go to the ministry. So that is there. But the whole thing is, yes, every police force should have an oversight. That's the practice. But if you ask me really, what I want to say, the police is the user of this product. The Police Service Commission is superintending. And I think, if let me just try to be in the mind of the IG. That's, look, we are going to train these people you're giving to us. So we have an important role to play. But
in their recruitment.
Yes, but in the end, we can recruit and say, look, this guy doesn't fit through our oversight function, and you don't give the person a letter of appointment because the Accountant General of the Federation in the office of the IPPIS is not going to honor any person appointed or selected or recruited to the police force without an appointment letter. So I want to see is having a kind of symbiotic relationship, really, that it shouldn't cause any acrimony, if you ask me. Okay. Because right now, the Police Service Commission has not stopped the IG or his agents from exercising disciplinary control of officers from the rank of constable to inspector.
Okay, so one thing that gives me some goosebumps is that when it comes to the promotion of senior officers and all of that, the Police Service Commission usually announces that, including disciplinary procedures, and we don't see the force headquarters objecting to that. So why does this same police force headquarters object to the issues of recruitment? You're a lawyer. I just want you to help us understand those issues because it's confusing to us.
Yeah, it shouldn't be confusing, because if you look at the Police Act and the sections that try to give the IG the power to recruit constables, the court has expressly stated that that power that has been given is ultra vires the Constitution. Every law in Nigeria that violates the Constitution is to the extent of that violation null and void. And the courts have stated this. Look, the courts are there to interpret the laws. So I don't think there should be any confusion on this, because we already have a judicial pronouncement on this. And let me correct one thing again. I agree completely with retired AIG. There are several agencies that come together in the thing when we come to issues of recruitment. Whether it's the Federal Character Commission that ensures that federal character is adhered to, whether it's the police that sees that the physicality of the body is there, whether it's the doctors who see, all those things. So that is also very important. But there is always a lead that coordinates this, that by the Constitution, and a lead that gives the power of appointment, and that is with the Police Service Commission. Now you ask the question, why is it that the IG doesn't raise any questions when the Police Service Commission promotes officers above the rank of an inspector? Here's the thing. The Police Service Commission has the power to promote all officers from constable, exclusive. What has happened is that years back ago, the Police Service Commission delegated its powers of promotion and discipline of the rank and file, which is the constables to inspector to the IG. So the IG is acting on behalf of the Police Service Commission and makes returns on how many persons he has promoted, how many he has disciplined every year. So the power does not belong to the IG.
But has the power been taken back
from the IG?
Yes.
No, this is the powers to promote and discipline, not to recruit. The instrument of delegation is there. It states expressly, the Police Service Commission is only effectively here in Abuja. So we can't be controlling and saying we see what the constable is doing on the road in Corona Moda or in Borno or Port Harcourt when we are only here in Abuja and some places. And that is why the powers have been given to the IG, who also is represented by state commissioners of police who exercise these powers, knowing that we cannot be everywhere.
Okay. But, sorry to interject here. Yeah. I just want to read out something from the police, a section from the Police Act, so that you would help us understand it better. In section 21 of the Police Act, it says, on recruitment, the responsibility for the recruitment of recruit constables into the Nigerian Police Force and recruit cadets into the Nigerian Police Academy shall be the duty of the Inspector General of Police. And it goes on to say that for the purpose of subsection 1, there shall be the Nigeria Police Recruitment Committee and all of that. And it says, subsection 3, the Police Recruitment Committee is responsible for the recruitment of recruit constables into the Nigeria Police Force. And the Police Recruitment Committee shall consist of the Inspector General of Police, all the DIGs, Force Secretary, and all of that. And then the recruitment of recruit constables into the Nigeria Police Force shall be of national spread across each of. It goes on. So I don't see the Police Service Commission being mentioned in this act. And yet there's a judgment which you have brought here, and I've seen it, of the Court of Appeal in 2022 here, which gives you the power. So what do we do in this instance?
No, listen. Laws are laws. And when there is any discrepancy or any issue about it, it's taken before the court. The court is the total and last authority. The court says that police act, those sections of the police act, violates the Constitution.
The Police Service Commission derives its strength from.
Exactly. The 1999 Constitution, as amended, expressly states that the Police Service Commission is the sole and exclusive body to recruit constables. So no matter what law you bring the country, it doesn't work, and that's what the law says. That's what the court said. Look, the issue is the Police Service Commission is not insisting that it must recruit. If the country and all authorities prefer that the police recruit, go to the National Assembly, amend the Constitution, let it go around all the at least 28 states in the country who will affirm. Then you can change the Constitution. Do you know why the Constitution says the PSC should recruit? I'll tell you why. The PSC is made up of Nigerians, civilians, who are actually the end users. The police like to say that they're end users of the police. No, it's the citizens that are the end users of the police.
Because the police are supposed to service
the citizens. They're supposed to serve the citizens. So the citizens are the ones who will say, these are the persons that we want to be enlisted. Once the police ensures that their physicality and their character are in order, then you take them in. But the police cannot say, we are recruiting people for you, the citizens, when the citizens are actually, the persons to be served. The Police Service Commission, as it is today, comprises these interest groups: the police themselves, the judiciary, the media, human rights, private sector, women, so, and we represent the 6 geopolitical zones. So you're looking at a body comprised of Nigerians. And that is why the Constitution says, in terms of civilian security, this body should take the charge. This body should take the lead. It didn't say that the PSC should recruit soldiers who are, meant to defend the country. But where you are securing the civic space, the civilian should have a very strong voice. And that is the idea behind the Constitution. If you want to change that, go and change the Constitution. We are not contesting the powers of recruitment. We are simply saying, as a country of laws, let's go by what the law says.
Very interesting submission, because Section 153 and Section 215 of the 1999 Constitution actually states some of this things that you have said. Then I come back to you, AIG. Where's the place of the Nigeria Police Council? This council, which has to be headed by President Muhammadu Buhari and, of course, the 30 state governors and all of that. Why are they not wading into this cement crisis? I mean, it's been on for quite some time now.
Yeah, I think the police council is more concerned with the policy issues, like on the appointment of an inspector general. The presidential...
Big issues.
Yes, the president in consultation, which is council, shall appoint an inspector general of police from among serving members of the Nigerian Police Force. That's the responsibility of that. But the issues of recruitment, as provided by the Police Act, which the IG is working on, gives that power to the IG, and then the Constitution gives this at the clarification that the High Court and the Court of Appeal have made pronouncement. I think it's awaiting the final court in the land. Okay. But be that as it may, it is important that we get these officers and deploy them to the streets to begin to protect Nigerians. I think that's the core, because one of the core challenges of the NPF today is the issue of manpower, human resource. The Nigerian Police Force is grossly understaffed. And so that's the larger issue.
Yeah, I mean, because we're coming to it now. I just wanted us to settle this idea. And you've just raised something very, very critical, which we're talking about. The idea is that the police needs more personnel, and so there has to be a recruitment. So in this instance now, we don't want to get involved in the family affair that you had mentioned now. Whether it's the Police Service Commission or the police force or even the Minister of Police Affairs and all of that. Why is it that it's been difficult for us to be able to have a police size of like about maybe between 500,000 to 700,000 policemen? Because from what we keep hearing people saying to us as journalists, they don't have the exact figures, but it hovers between 300,000 policemen to 350,000 or so that we have as a nation. Why can't we have like about 500 or maybe 700,000 or even 1 million, I mean, considering our size?
First of all, policing is, you need to have to imbue with certain skills. And you've got to pass through the training institutions. You've got to be formed. It takes you not less than 4 years to become a police officer, even when you have passed out. Now, how many training institutions do we have? Are you just going to recruit people on the street and push them out? And that's in the wisdom. Of course, this has budgetary implication. If some of the training institutions are not in excellent state. So what is the capacity can this institution? I think based on that calculation, it was, the president approved 10,000 per year. But if that is done consistently, gradually, the number is going to begin to expand. But there was a gap. There were several years that there were no recruitment. And although every year people keep retiring, and that created gap. But I think if it goes like this, and then depending on budgetary, what the budget can allow, it may be possible to take 15,000, 20,000. But in which case, you've got to draw more personnel, even from among retirees who have the competence and capacity to give this training. And then you begin to give that number. But policing is not what, it's not like on the day you just bring a Boy Scout, so yeah, stay there and control.
Yeah, of course. You would have seen that with the challenges of the country.
It's a job of a constable cannot even perform by a professor, because request scale, statement taking, beat patrol, getting the way police interacts with people and the rest of it. So because of that, once this recruitment goes consistently, but I think there may be a time that the president or the presidency may have to go to up to 20,000. But in that case, you've got to...
Some will say it's still limited,
yeah, but if you start
size.
if you start 20,000, policing, the number is very important. But you also talk of, you have a lot of multipliers, technology, relationship with community, and other security agencies. You can grow large by leveraging on those, but importantly, it's good that the officers you are turning out. Don't forget, the most important cadre of the police is the constable to inspector. All the others are administrative. You don't find the commissioner of police record your statement. You don't find even an ASP, only in rare circumstances. So, and in many countries, when constables are passing out, even the president, commander-in-chief, and all the top echelons of the administration are always in attendance. Because when you talk of the police, it's that man you see on the street, that man you encounter at stop and search, that man you encounter at the counter, that man you encounter where your statement is being recorded. That's your impression of the police. So in training those people, that cadre, it's not something you just lump people and then you begin to have problem. So I think that's it. But if we progress and we don't break it, and as budget may permit, you increase 15, 20, maybe you look for when the NYC orientation camps are not in session, you just give them training of 6 months, draw officers, and then before you know it, you've got that number. But building it gradually is not a problem.
Okay, Inalegwu, I will ask that we go on a short break, and when we come back, I will be coming back to you. Rommy Mom, I'm interested in knowing the role of the Police Service Commission, the discipline of the rank and file in the face of what we've seen the Inspector General of Police through his, of course, his other subordinates doing, whereby policemen are arrested doing one thing or the other, and immediately they are just you know, derobed and just asked to go and face you know, disciplinary measures. Some of them are just sacked like that. We've seen some Nigerians saying that, look, there should be some room for repentance and see how we can manage them, since we already don't have enough. Well, you're still watching the Arise interview. The conversation continues on how to reform the Nigerian police. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Somna Sambo. Of course, we've been taking a look at all the issues that have to do with police reforms, and of course, some of the challenges between the Inspector General of Police and the Police Service Commission as to who has the powers over recruitment. And of course, I still have with me in the studio retired Assistant General, Inspector General of Police, Wilson Inalegwu, and of course an Honorable Commissioner in charge of Human Rights in the Police Service Commission, Rommy Mom. And of course, we will be joined later on the show by Arise Judiciary Editor Toby Shoni. And of course, I come back to you, gentlemen, specifically you, Rommy Mom. Let's talk about the issues of how to reform our police. The Police Service Commission, based on what you've just told us here, is well composed to put into place thoughts of human rights issue, how the civic space can be well protected, how Nigerians can be well understood by the police, and all of that. If you see what's been going on in recent weeks, you see that policemen are being arrested by the force headquarters over things that they are doing to citizens, and of course they are brought to the force headquarters, their kits are removed, and then of course they are put under trial and all of that. Some people are beginning to ask, is it a matter of showmanship? What do we do in that instance? In fact, a prominent Nigerian actress was saying that, look, we don't have so many policemen, so we should look for ways of repentance, not just sacking people like that immediately, because these people have families to cater to and all of that, so that they also don't go out there in the midst of hunger and work with the enemy.
Oh, well, I think that issue of police discipline is structured into two. You've mentioned the constables to the inspector ranks, the rank and file, which is the PSC has delegated the IG to take care of, and then you have the senior police officers that the PSC is still handling. It's very important, and it's a very delicate issue. I think that the IG, if you ask me, this is my opinion, has done very well in terms of trying to instill professionalism and discipline into the rank and file. And if you are a police officer, then there are certain conduct that you must be upheld. We must hold you to, especially if it comes to where an officer, some of the videos we've seen, you're brutalizing a citizen. The citizens, they are reminding you that this is what the IG says, and you are listening to that, and it's as if you are saying your IG amounts to nothing, and you go on and on. I don't think that's the kind of police officer that we dream of in this country, or that we expect. And so there are cadres to the level of unprofessionalism and professional levels of misconduct. And I think the Inspector General of Police has dealt with it well, in my thinking. There are some things that we should not allow permeate that disciplined, gentlemen and officers. Having said that, though, we must understand one thing. No government official works in the country more than police officers. An average police officer works 18 hours a day. An average police officer works 18 hours a day. They're moving from one shift to the next to the next. And so these are persons that sometimes you meet, they are already very irritable.
Tensed.
Yeah, they are tensed. And so Nigerians need to understand the difficult situations police work under. And that is why this issue of recruitment, let's quickly recruit and add to the number, is there just so that we can lessen the burden a bit and all of that. These are persons who work long hours, are not properly remunerated because their salaries and their allowances, it's a pity. Given where the standard of living has gone up today, given the conditions that they work, you know, when you begin to know and look at these things closely, you understand that you are dealing with someone that you should always stand up for when they walk into a room, you know, in appreciation of the efforts they put into keeping us safe. It's not easy. And so when these things happen sometimes, I think we should look at little indicators like as suggested, this police officer who was doing this, at what time was he doing it? How many hours had he been on duty? And all of that. If you're working for 18 hours and you meet me in the 17th hour or in the 18th hour, I wouldn't be like the first hour out there. And so we have a police force that we need to cushion in, you know, in a place that will make them be the kind of officers we want them to be. Where we are now is a far cry from the global standards, even from the Nigerian standard. Even by Nigerian standards, we don't treat our police officers well. And it's a cause for worry and a cause for concern.
Okay, he has raised a very critical issue, the issues of welfare. I thought that with the new Police Act and what President Muhammadu Buhari has been telling us in terms of welfare of the police, that we had gone beyond that. Because I mean, I feel terribly bad myself when I go out at night. I'm leaving my job and I'm going home and I see officers, you know, well dressed and all of that, asking if I could also support them with something. I mean, what do we do in terms of welfare for our policemen who stand under the rain and under the sun for us?
I think the policeman is the least catered for in this country. Despite that, the Nigerian Police Force has one of the best personnel. We have served in other countries, and we know the way the Nigerian Police Force is rated. But here, the Nigerian Police Force is understaffed, underpaid, and then work long hours, 24 hours, 12 hours. Nobody does that kind of work. Nurses and doctors in the hospital, they work for 4 days, take 3-4 days off. The policeman doesn't take off. Sometime on duty, it gets so fagged out that at times he develops cardiovascular issues and a lot of cases of slumping and dying. Is terrible. So the fortune, the prosperity, the well-being of the police officer, there is a lot to be done. Even the tools to work with. Yes, you're having police reform, police rebuilding, police restructuring. You build, even if you build the institution, what of the individual? What of his healthcare? What is the quality of hospital?
And even the protection of the policemen. I've
yes.
seen, you know,
Yes.
what some of these terrorists have
Yes,
done to our
yes,
police, and
yes.
sometimes when the pictures are sent to us as journalists, we feel very
and even
bad.
Some of those officers,
Very bad.
Even when they die in the line of duty, sometimes taking their bodies to their communities is a lot. I think that's why the president approved death benefit or just to carry the bodies, burial expenses. There was backlog, I'll say from 2014 or so, that was recently approved. So you could ask yourself, those policemen that died from 2014 to how were their bodies taken to their homes?
So what do we do better now for our policemen?
I think the Inspector General of Police has tried to do a lot in terms of police welfare by appealing to the authority to, you know, in terms of salary, in terms of allowances and all that. Of course, for certain category there was something done about, you know, pension, which is better than what it was. But 80% are still suffering. And Commissioner of Police tell you that this is his pension. Because when you work, you look forward to a comfortable retirement. No, even to have the basics that you are able to buy your, fuel your car, medication. If you didn't marry early, you can still pay school fees. But right now, that's almost impossible. Even the psychological welfare of officers. You don't go to any police station or command, and you have where officers can go. In those days, we used to have mercies, all this new command. Some don't even have, even the FCT that we are, doesn't have a police command headquarters. It's a central bank residential accommodation that the FCT police command is using. When was FCT created? FCT doesn't have a state command. A command.
A befitting
command. That place opposite the old CBN. And it goes on like that. And again, officers get killed. You find the officer going to work, is riding a bike, one is carrying a rifle. Why is it not possible? Because the divisions don't even have vehicles. They cannot say, okay, from Nyanya or from wherever, officers who are on duty will take you. You have 30 minutes or 1 hour overlap, handing and taking over. But everybody is meant to fend for himself. In the process, he's riding a bike with his rifle, he gets crushed. And so there is just a lot. And so when we are talking of reform, I'm not sure we've had that depth of a reform in terms of capacity, of taking steps to build capacity
and welfare
and integrity
and all of that.
And providing. Let me give you an example.
Very quickly.
I was in Ondo very recently, and I saw that the police didn't even have vehicles, only about 5 safer vehicles. And I saw Amotekun with brand new Jack, JAC, and all over. Imagine that you are working in that. You are like an orphan, really, because you are seeing one group of people having little things like logistics. But I want you to go around. There are so many police divisions that don't have services.
That's also because the police has also been accused of mismanaging some of the resources given to them. Brand new vehicles in 6 months, you see how policemen are driving them around just because they don't purchase these vehicles themselves.
Yeah. Let me say something. If a division of 300 personnel have 3 vehicles, they work 24/7. Again, somewhere in the bush, might be around your village, something happens. There's no road there. They drive that vehicle there. Ask yourself, how much is given for maintenance? I was Director of Central Planning and Training at Police Staff College. I had one Nissan. I was getting quarterly 25 to 30,000 for fueling, for maintenance. You have a car. So you spend 25, 30,000 to fuel, and this is an operation. These are vehicles that are used constantly. You don't compare police vehicles to that of Ministry of Information or that of any other ministry. These vehicles are engaged constantly, and if you do that, and the FCT is a good example. In 2007 or before 2007, they were snatching about 10 to 15 cars every day. Go and check statistics. When Dr. Ali Modibo came,
as the former Minister of FCT.
Former Minister of FCT, he bought 90 406. He bought 12 pickups. He bought another 10, another 15 pickups. And in that time in FCT, the memory of people is so short. You withdraw money from the bank, you get mugged, you get shot on FCT Street. That's no longer happening.
Okay.
So that is to tell you the correlation between having the necessary welfare and the logistics in terms of vehicles, in terms of communication. This go a long way.
Okay, I'll ask you to hold on there. Let me bring in Arisa Judiciary Editor, Toby Shoni. I'm interested, Toby, in knowing what actually happened to the outcome of the EndSARS judicial panel reports, several of them. We saw that of Lagos, which was the prominent one. The Lagos state government accepted some, and of course, some others were thrown away. Some of the reasons why young Nigerians went out on the street was to actually ensure that the policemen who were involved in those things were sanctioned, and of course there will be great police reforms that will help us understand better ways of managing our security. But what do you have to say about the outcome of all those judicial panel reports?
Sumner. It's typical Nigeria. Let me start that way. We start very well, but we often lack finishing. It's a good thing that we set up panel to look at the demand of EndSARS, but like the protester rightly suspected, that it was a means to see how to get them out of the street, not necessarily because the government of the day is interested in implementing any reform. And to a larger extent, the protesters have been proved right. But likely, we cannot continue to blame federal government for all this. Many states also set up their own committee. But what have the states done? We know Lagos too has made some efforts, though they are not there yet. Some other states didn't just, do anything about it. Then the federal government, well, they rejected some and they have agreed to implement some. But those things, they are forced people to go on the streets of Lagos. The unfortunate thing is that it's still happening. Police, innocent people still get killed. We still don't have weight. But there are some successes too. We have also seen some policemen who on their own have exercised restraint, which was not like that in the past. So to some extent, I would say we are not there yet, but some gains have been made, and we must put this on record. Some policemen too, they are adjusting to the new reality that they could get called out and they could face prosecution if they abuse people's rights. So some of them are on their own making adjustment, but the institution still remains the problem. The institution has to go further. Under the present IG, we've seen some effort. I can remember the visual that went viral, the IG quickly stepped in, and I'm sure that will go as a very good example, because what has been lacking is accountability. By the time that policemen know that they will be accountable for their actions, I'm sure they themselves will sit right. So it's on record that this IG, once the report gets to him, he takes steps. It wasn't that frequent in the past. That's an encouragement, and I can tell you, it's difficult to measure how far such moves go. But if you talk to policemen, some of them have seen the action of the IG, and they don't want to be caught in doing something wrong like that and be punished for it. I can imagine somebody who has put in 20 years into the police, just because he's not able to control his tongue, lost everything. No one will want to be dismissed for avoidable errors like that. So I'm sure we have to encourage the IGP to continue to respond to, to continue to follow up on some of these complaints and to ensure that people are held accountable. Once there's accountability, I'm sure we'll see better policing. Thank you so much.
All right, let's talk about the issues of state police and how this issue has formed the back room of every conversation across the country on the need to ensure that states are given powers. We've seen the National Assembly talking about this, and of course the Constitution review exercise. Why does it look like an unending issue that we cannot resolve? Is it so difficult for us to be able to take a final stand as a country on the issues of decentralizing the police? And what's the role of the judiciary in helping out through this constitutional amendment to help provide an insight into what needs to be done in terms of the policing laws that we have?
Well, let me start with the state police. I was opportune to listen to former President Goodluck Jonathan. He said it was one of those things he was going to do. Though immediately people got wind that he was preparing to, institutionalize state police, he said he started getting called from former president, former chief justice, top echelons of the society. They said, you want to divide this country, don't go there, don't try it, and that is why he quietly dropped the issue. So that tells you who are behind the idea of not having state police. For me, I think we have to get there. We should stop deceiving ourselves. Why are we still pretending? If Southwest is having what is it called, Amotekun. Other states are also doing their thing. So obviously, we have recognized that there is a need to have some sort of policing in the state. We only need to work out the modalities. We don't have to follow the American experience. We have to look at something that works for us. Let police register Amotekun. Let Amotekun work with the federal police. They can coexist in such a legal way that everybody will benefit. They raised the issue that, fine, there will be impunity, there will be this and that. We already have the impunity. Otherwise, if impunity is an excuse, then let us abolish the federal police. So if we say because the state police will be used by governors, nobody is going to be governors for life. If you are there, you misuse the police, somebody else will take over, and you will be held accountable for what you did. Like I said, it still boils down. The fear is about accountability, that if a state has police and the governor misuses it, is there a way to hold that governor accountable, even while he's there or when he has left office? Those are the issues that we can have a solution to. For me, the federal police, Nigeria is a big country. They've done their best, but they are not magicians. So they need help. The federal police need help. So for me, the state police that we should have is one that will be working in hand with federal police. It's not that we want to divide the country or not. So after all, we claim to practice federalism. So we cannot do federalism with left hand and not do federalism with right hand. So it behoves on us as a federal country to have a state
all right.
police. Yeah.
I think I really love that part. I said the federal government actually needs help in the issues of policing, and it looks like the states are already doing that, taking revolutionary steps. And I come back to you, Mom, as we try to coast home on this conversation. We've seen some of these state governments bringing their own policing systems, whether by force or trying to look at the ways that they can just manage to have something to secure themselves, because the trust, there's a trust deficit on the federal police. Now, when you look at all this Amotekun and all these policing systems that are being put in place, or sub-policing systems that are being put in place by state government, isn't it eroding the powers, for example, of the Police Service Commission? If indeed these armed groups are being put in place, what's the role of your commission in helping to discipline some of this? And we know that these are state institutions, but right now we don't have states having the powers to have their own police. What's the role of the PSC?
I think, again, I'll go back to the law. I will always say that this is a country of laws. And if you look at the Police Act, which seeks to reform the police, it provides for what you call community policing under section 135 to 137 of the law, and it's very, very express. It's very open. So whether you look at Amotekun or voluntary guards or whatever name you want to call them, these are community-based organizations that should, you know, like he rightly stated, infused with the police for, you know, intelligence sharing and all of that, being proactive, proactive and not reactive to issues of crime, nipping crime in the bud and offenses in the bud and all of that. So it's still within the law if we are supposed to implement the Police Act the way it should be. And once that happens, then the PSC immediately comes to bear on all of this, because all issues of policing in this country as it is today lies, in terms of oversight, lies with the Police Service Commission. So if we have Amotekun, for example, now coming under the structures of community policing, then you have an oversight responsibility and an authority over them. I would say this, that the Police Service Commission, the way it is today, if we are taking issues of professionalism, issues of accountability of policing into focus, then we must ensure that the Police Service Commission is empowered to carry out its constitutional rules. The way it is today, it's not so much for lack of reforms, it's not so much for lack of money being put in police sometimes, it's simply because that mechanism for accountability, for transparency that lies with the oversight body is completely undermined. We cannot talk of having a viable professional police force or community policing if the oversight function is not made strong. And to that extent, we must see that our Police Service Commission truly has the capacity to oversight. Otherwise, we are just going round and round. We may come back to this issue of EndSARS again, God forbid, if we don't empower the Police Service Commission to carry out its oversight responsibility. The motivation for wrongdoing is the inability to get punished. You talked about constables to inspectors being punished because the IG does that immediately. But what about those who are high up there, who give the orders? What is their disciplinary procedure and measures? How is it being done? Does it encourage lack of professionalism and all of that? Does it encourage lack of accountability? These are issues that we need to look at, and the way out is to empower the Police Service Commission. Okay, so that's to say that we shouldn't have states having their own, maybe like a sort of state police service commission, except if maybe we have a new law that would have to bring state police into place. I just want us to get that right. Can states who have Amotekun and all of that set up a sort of their own police service commission with it to help regulate the activities of those institutions that they are setting up? Again, I will come back to the issue of law, like you said. Right now, the issue of state police is also an aberration by the law. But what is happening is fantastic in terms of us having more boots on the ground to support what the police is doing, whether Amotekun. It's fantastic. All I would say is that we should ingrain them into the law, bring them in, and the Police Act makes provisions for that in calling them community policing structures. Once that happens, then we empower the Police Service Commission. Oversight responsibility begins to, comes to being. Okay, just before we go now, AIG Inalegwu, let's talk about how we can prevent the police, the federal police, from being misused in the next general election as we head into the 2023 polls.
Well, the IG, I think, has started exercising disciplinary control. And the personnel know that they can do what they like. And it's about accountability. And I like to remark about the special police forces created, Amotekun, Ebubiagu. I think that law also recognizes that these are like special constabulary. And they are also given police uniform. If you go to the Nigeria Security Printing and Minting or WAEC, they have that in-house. But they are under control. But right now, what kind of training? Are they giving military training or law enforcement training? Okay. Because for them to be able to work with the Federal Police Force, they've got to have certain ingredients. Do they have those? And that's why I think that the relevant provisions of the Police Act should be complied with. But but all I want to say, it is important that the police has guidelines for elections. But I want to remind that we need to up our training in crowd control. So that, because as we approach a general election, it should be part of our policing priority to have officers properly trained, young officers that can carry the baton, carry shield that will work, and if they can't contain, it goes to the PMF before the military, not the military being the first line of contact. Right. I like that progression. Okay. That's I just want to add that. Yeah, we must thank you so much, retired Assistant General of Police, Assistant Inspector General of Police Wilson Inalegwu, and then of course we've also had the Honorable Commissioner in charge of Human Rights in the Police Service Commission, Rommy Mom, who is also a lawyer, and of course Arise Judiciary Editor Toby Shoney joining us to help us understand these issues. And of course, like we've discussed, the issues of welfare for the Nigerian police is very, very important, because when we start hearing news that some policemen want to go on strike, sometimes it makes us feel bad, because I mean, if the police goes on strike, like we had electricity workers going on strike, I wonder what will happen to us in terms of our internal security. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Son Samuel.